Hi again guys, and welcome to another tune setup for Gran Turismo SPORT in particular. And of course yesterday I mentioned in the review for this car, the 2016 shape DLC Audi R18 LMP car, that I would be releasing a tune for it. The tune in particular which I use. And as with all of my tunes, in particular though in the Group 1 and Group 3 categories for race cars, it doesn't really matter if you upgrade the power and weight at all, because these tunes can still be used for balance of performance anyway, because it's more about the settings than the upgrades. So you can upgrade it if you want, but you don't have to. Especially in the case of a car like this, where you can't upgrade the power anyway. Now, as far as the tyres, we've got racing hards on, but of course that'll depend on the situation and the driver. As far as suspension, I've got the ride height on 70mm on the front, 80mm on the rear. The frequency of the suspension we've got on 4, front and rear. Anti-roll I've got on 6 on the front, 5 on the back. For compression we're running 55, rebound 85, 1 degree of camber. You don't necessarily need to have 1 degree, but it's just kind of a fail-safe to give you that little bit of a helping hand. If you're already a more experienced driver, you could certainly put that on 0, for instance. With tow, we've got that on neutral. I'm running the highest downforce because this is purely a cornering build, but of course that will, again, depend on the scenario. If you need more top-end performance, of course you can drop that as low as you need to. As far as the diff, I've got 10 for the front initial torque, 5 on the rear, just to make it that little bit stiffer. Again, that's my personal preference though. As far as acceleration and braking, we've got 60 all round for those. As far as the gearbox finally, again, this will of course depend on the circuit, but I've got a relatively close ratio setup where you can do around 200, 205, that kind of speed. So very much a technical gearbox setup. It gets through the gears very quickly. I've gone for an auto setting of 211, then individual gears of 2.5, 1.9, 1575, 1.3, 1.1, and 0.975 with a final drive of 2.23. And as I said, if you do need to use this for more top-end speed, which it can certainly do, then of course you'll want to drop the downforce and maybe extend the final drive a little bit in particular, say down to 2, for instance, or 2.1, and then that can give you that a bit of extra speed, about 210, 215, 220, that kind of advantage. So that's it for the tune, with tons of room for variation as usual, and as I said, it works with or without balance of performance, so all that remains is, of course, to actually take it out on a track. Now, as I mentioned, of course, in the review for this particular car yesterday, this is a very beginner-friendly vehicle, as far as I'm concerned. I know that some people do prefer other LMPs, and that's fair enough. I wouldn't necessarily automatically say that this is the fastest of them, because it frankly isn't, but it is a very forgiving car. It's of course going to get a lot of attention because it's a newcomer to the game, a newcomer to the franchise, but if you do get the chance to pick one up, and of course try out this tune, I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. It's definitely an LMP car which will give a real big helping hand to people who are less experienced with LMPs. And so if you do, of course, decide to use this car, I hope you have a whole lot of fun with it and potentially win events with it also, obviously. So if you want to check out more tune setups here on the channel for road and race cars, then of course you can click through at the end of this video to see all of those. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.